Listen. Well, hello, all my American friends. Thank you for coming in on a Wednesday night. We got Mr. Chad Fields in here with us tonight, and we're waiting on Art to jump in with us. So thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming in. And God bless America. God bless you and your families. And we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Mr. Chad, you've been getting all kind of good happiness for the past week out running the roads and catching fish, ain't you? You and D.
I am, man. I've marked some lakes off my bucket list, some river, James River and Lake Kerr, and we've had a great the last 2 days. We've caught 21 fish in the last 2 days on Kerr, so having a great time down here. And we just got down here to Lake Wiley about 3 hours ago. I'm actually sitting inside here eating dinner, but I wanted to pop in and say hello and tell you what we have going on this weekend. So
there's a new one. It's All Mine. That's a new name for me.
Tom's wife, Michelle.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, Michelle. Thank you for coming in.
She the other day.
So, Chad, tell everybody kind of what they need to expect Saturday morning.
All right. Well, Saturday morning, it's going to be just a fun fish. We're going to have several people down here that have made the trip, some locals that are going to be fishing. Some will be on the live the whole time. Some may pop in and out. Some may be just down here fishing. But at the end of the day, what we're going to do is we're going to have the PayPal link up in the description with also the direct link to Camp Centurion. And people will be able to donate to either way they want to do it. But we're here to try to help you raise money for Camp Centurion, despite having to cancel the tournament, right? See if we can raise anything. Everything a little bit will help with that. So that's the goal. And obviously, we'll also still have our fun bragging rights of when I beat Justin Fish and Fetish and Richard Warskow, who are right now out there I know they're in my spot, James, and sore lipping all my fish.
Well, they done put a 40 and a 43 flyhead in the boat today, so hopefully they were running out of luck.
Yeah, trust me, especially Justin. I don't know about Richard because Richard's a pretty stout little fellow. He might whoop me, but Justin might have to hurt him. He's down there sore lipping every fish in my spot.
Well, I know it's going to be fun regardless anytime we get to bring us all together.
That's right.
And finally, I'm going to get to fish with all of y'all. I'm going to be able to sit down and meet and talk with you. I won't have to be run all over the place. And Chad, I thank you for that personally, just for that. And I want to thank you from Camp Centurion. I talked to Bud today. He wanted to know the links so he could watch. Now, is everybody going to come through your channel?
Yeah.
Going live?
Yep. I already have the show set up for that day. Right. And I send everybody that's in the group chat or that's not even on Facebook the link, and they can jump in whenever they want to. We'll go live probably about 8 o'clock. That's what time it's scheduled. We may or may not go live on time. We don't know. But we'll see what happens with it.
Okay. Yeah. Wampus Cat, he'll be with me. So, when you send me the link, we'll just go through my phone to do it. So it'll be all right.
Good.
And,
there's things going on Saturday. Real quick, I do want to make sure, because I know Josh will have his biggest loser contest, and I know he'll be shouting out to go over and check us out. But I want the same from anybody that comes into ours to go over and check him out and share that love. Hey, you got to warn me before you bring something that pretty up.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, boys, all right, and I ain't leaving just because you're here, but this is your show. You are the legend of the dock. But I do appreciate James letting me come on here and, give a shout out to that so we can help try to raise a few bucks for Camp Centurion. We may have something else up our sleeve that. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a phone call there. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. That we may have up our sleeves to raise some money, but I will not spill that just yet. I'm actually getting ready to go talk to somebody here right now that we're getting ready to have dinner with. So, gents, have a great night. Art, man, you are a legend. I look up to you. Literally, you're tall. See you, fellas.
All right. Thank you, Chad. See you.
Bye. Have a good night.
Yeah, he just wanted to kind of explain a little bit what's going to take place Saturday, and I know we'll all have fun. Art, thank you for coming in, brother.
I'm good.
Well, good. You got a little bit of bragging rights for to show off a little bit, and I'm happy for you, man. That's a fish of a lifetime.
I appreciate it.
92-pound blue.
It's still unreal to me. I'm telling you, it's unreal.
Would you mind if we give a few shout outs before we really get digging into this? I don't want people thinking we forget about them.
Yeah, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
There you go, Mr. JP3 and Av. JP was first, and then Avi comes sliding in there second. Mike Sampson, John Patrick Jr. Who else? There's Mr. Squirrels in the house with us tonight. Who else we got coming in here? LG Bass hanging out in here. Think you know him, don't you?
I might know that guy.
Yeah, Nebraska Wildcats. There's Justin Fishing Fetish. He might be watching from the boat. They done put a 40 and a 43 in the boat today already, back to back.
Flathead, right?
Flatheads. Yes, flatheads.
That's my favorite.
There you go. Mr. Lyle's in the house. It's All Mine's in the house.
Michelle.
Yep. K&B Anglers. Who else we got in here? Real Gals from Mississippi. Dale Hayslip. K&B's in the house. Ken Kinnemer's in the house. Who else we got hanging out with us? I'm sure there'll be more come rolling in here.
I think I see Freddie.
Yep, there's Mr. Freddie Beck's in the house. That's my buddy right there, my gold mining buddy. I talked to one of our other gold mining buddies today, Freddie. He's pushing me, boy, to get that dredge ready. There's Billy Martin's in the house with us. But, Joe Buck, what's going on with Junior War Scout, Junior Proctor, Mr. Gadget? Thank y'all guys for coming in here tonight and help celebrate Mr. Art's big fish. Man, off the bank or off a dock, that is a monster catch.
Yeah, I have to agree. It was.
Tell us kind of how you set up for the day or the night and get ready for what took place.
So Thursday. So this happened Friday night going into Saturday. Thursday, Josh and I went to this place. So I guess backtrack a little bit more. So just watching YouTube and listening to what Epic always talks about, and you and Lyle talked about on Catfish Weekly, like the different baits that are good. And so it's tough for a bank guy to just go throw his net and get some shad unless you know where some are at. And, we're slowly learning spots like that. But suckers has always stuck out. Like everybody keeps talking about red horse suckers or white suckers, whatever. So on a local, and Facebook can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. So Facebook, right. There's a page that is dedicated to one of the rivers that feeds into the lake. And somebody had posted on there that they were catching suckers by this little dam. And this is like slap middle of the city. Like you could just drive up, park, and walk down. So we had been trying all week to try to line up a trip to go catch some of them because it's hands down some of the best bait we've ever used as bank anglers, whether it's frozen or fresh. Fresh obviously is always better, but we freeze them because you never know when you're going to be able to go catch bait again from. So Thursday we rolled down there after work. We had a little bit of time before dark, but they were in there so thick they were jumping, and this is heavy current, and there's like a dam with a waterfall. So it's like different sections of this river that has that same thing, where it's like a small dam with the water flowing over it. But this specific section has a creek feeding in, so I'm thinking they came out of that creek, or they just stay in that section of river. Oops, sorry, kicked it.
Fine.
So we got down there Thursday, and I made sure we looked it up. The regulations for Virginia, you can cast net them alongside of fishing for them. So Josh actually caught one on hook and line. And the rest we caught. I didn't catch any because my net broke like on the second throw. But there was a guy hanging out, and we were talking to him, and he came over through the net and got us a couple. And as soon as we saw that, I went to Walmart and got one of those cheapo nets because it's completely rocky and logs.
Right.
If you lose it, you lose it.
Right.
So I went back down. Well, we ended up with like 8 of them that day. But I went back down. Well, this was after the catch. But so that Thursday, and I saw guys there catching them on a jig head and a grub curly tail grub.
Right.
Like I thought those suckers just, went along the bottom like carp, but carp do eat worms, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But we got that, and we had planned on meeting up with Kenneth Powell from Takedown Catfishing on Friday night to fish upper part of the lake where the river is, because we were seeing these tournament guys when we're fishing for the bag, we can see where all the boats are going, and it seems to be that like the catfish population in general have been moving up, staging closer to those rivers and those shallows. So we're like, well, let's try here. Josh got there first. There was people from one end to the other, and they had lights. So Josh is like, I'm guessing they're going to stay all night.
Yeah.
So he called me. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to go to this other spot and look. And he went to this other spot, and that was full. I'm like, well, I can't think of anything closer up to where we can have some success. And we stay in communication with Tom because he lives close. I called Tom, and Michelle answered Tom's phone. She said, well, Art, he's out mowing grass. I said, well, see if he wants to go fishing, because we don't have any spots to go. See if he wants to meet us, up there by him. I said, we have all the bait because we had all those suckers. And I didn't even get to talk to him. Michelle did all the negotiation for me. She went outside and told him, yeah, you're going fishing tonight with one son, and they're bringing the bait. He said, okay. So next thing you know, we ended up, Kenneth, myself, and Josh ended up there at the dock with Tom. And Tom's like, I had no intention of fishing tonight, but, why not, right?
So, yeah, why not?
So we set up, and I just got a rod from CatCon. I'd always wanted to try a Whisker Seeker. I like my preference is Big Cat Fever. I always like Big Cat Fever more than just the product they sell. It's the people that own the company and how they carry themselves. But that's nothing than the other company. That's just my personal preference, and we'll just leave it at that. But I had my eyes on the Whisker Seekers Full Metal Jacket rods, like the one that I think Chunky has fished with, the 9'6".
Okay.
The long bank rod. So I got CatCon and I worked out a deal and ended up buying a nice Abu Garcia Catfish Special 7000, one of the new black with the orange handle. So when I get a new rod, I try to put that in my rotation to fish with, to catch a fish on it, to kind of get that, to break it in and see how it does, because I like to see how a rod does before I start picking them. But that's the rod I was using that night, and it got cold Friday night. This weather's been crazy. It's been nice. It freezing a couple of nights last week. So we ended up getting down there probably around dark. We set up, cast out. I think we had a couple of bites. Oh, it was probably a few hours before we even got a bite. And Josh had to run to the store. I don't know if he was getting coffee or something. But his rod went down, and I caught a 20-pound blue. But then it was dead for hours after that, and it was like 1:30. And Kenneth and Tom, excuse me, Kenneth and Tom had moved into the car to warm up because it was cold, and I had a blanket. I was covered up in a blanket in my chair, and Josh was covered up too. And I was like, I'm gonna go move my Whisker Seeker from the left side over to that side since nobody's got a rod out. So I moved it over, and it was probably like 10, 15 minutes later, that rod just buried. It looked from a 9'6", it looked like a 4-foot rod from where I was sitting.
Dang right.
And it wasn't just like a big slam down. It crept because I didn't even hear my bell because we keep bells on it too, even though we have it. And I went out to it, and it wasn't pull and drag or anything. And I hadn't remembered if I truly set the drag because it was so new. The reel was new. I mean, I do the pull test, but
Right.
I like adjusting it kind of when I'm fighting a fish, and that's probably not the best time. That's what I was doing. But when I got up to it, I pulled it. I reeled down first and pulled it up out of the rod holder, and it didn't move. But it wasn't pull and drag either. It was like sitting still. So I reeled down, the pump action, reeled down, brought it up, reeled down, brought it up. And the drag would just keep coming out when I was pulling up. I'm like, man, this
like
thing.
pulling a log.
Yeah, I said, this thing is stuck. And then it finally started moving. I'm like, well, he must have swam into something, and I'm bringing him and whatever it is. Because I don't know if there's a lot of people in chat, and I'm sure you've tuned in to Aaron streaming at the dock. They call that Hades hole where I threw it because it's like you throw your rig to risk it, but you never get it back. Not normal.
Right.
Yeah, and just bringing it in. And I was talking to you earlier about I started seeing my sinker coming out of the water. I'm like, okay, well, he's getting closer. But it was my sinker slide, and it wasn't going back down. And that's when he must have realized or got close enough to our lights. He would go back, he would pull drag back out, and I'd bring him back in. Then he started going left and right. And I thought it was only like 10 minutes, but it was longer than that. You know how you're in the heat of the moment and things happen.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, it wasn't that bad, right? It was probably like 20, 25 minutes fighting him. And what scared me the most is when he started trying to go underneath the dock. And the sinker slide, I don't know why it wasn't going down, but it was just kind of hanging in the air. So I said, you know what? Instead of him keep pulling and going out, I thumbed my spool and just started walking backwards on the dock just to see. And then his head crested out. Josh was like, "Oh my God, did you see the head on that thing?" And I was like, that's when I realized like how huge this fish was. It was crazy. It looked like a turtle shell coming out. It was so big.
Mm-hmm.
And we finally got him kind of. Then the splashes started, and the tail slaps. Like I didn't think a big fish would do that. To come up and just just kind of go wild. I didn't think big fish did that, but he started doing that, and that scared me even more with my line and everything. So, and then the sinker side finally did right. I don't know what was wrong with it, but it finally slid down. And then Tom was standing there next to us, and Josh was just kind of eyeballing. And Tom's shining a light, and Josh finally scooped him in the net. He got pretty much his head and his belly, and the rest of it was hanging out.
Right.
And okay, we got him. And we reach over. Oh, Josh goes, dude, I'm going to need your help pulling this out of the water. This is a big fish. I mean, I thought maybe it was like a 50 or 60.
Right.
And that would have been a new PB for me as well because my previous one was 49. So I reached over to grab it with him, and we lifted up onto the dock, and we just kind of stood there, and we looked at each other like, dude. It amazed me. I'm like, all right, let's get him away from the edge. So we finally get him out of the net, get him unhooked, and everything was textbook. He was right in the corner. Everything was perfect. And he's like, Josh is like, we got to go live. I'm like, yeah, go live on something. I don't even care. Just go live. And I laid down on the dock next to him so he couldn't flip or roll off of it or whatever. I was just going to bear hug him.
Right.
And plus, too, when he went live, I'm like, man, what? People are going to think this fish isn't that big. Because me, I mean, I'm 6'3" and I'm 40 pounds. So everything I do, everything looks small. Like everything. And so I figured laying down next to it, my leg kind of stretched out. They would get an idea. And like the whole time, we went live for like 10 minutes. And I didn't want to keep it out anymore because the wind was blowing. And I could tell his slime coat was getting super sticky and dry.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that's my biggest concern is I don't want to see a fish like that die because of how much fun I had and all the work that I put in or us as a group too, the work we put in catching bait and getting ready and buying stuff and tying rigs and testing different things out, all that accumulates up to that point. So why wouldn't you want to let it go? So you keep doing that,
Well, yeah. I mean, it's something you've done your whole fishing life is to lead up to this point.
Yeah. All those times I annoyed my dad as a kid throwing rocks when he's catching fish.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and there's a lot that leads up to that awesome experience you just had with that fish. It ain't just a one night time that you caught that fish. It's a lifetime of learning and and don't get me wrong, there's a little bit of luck in all of it. They are, but you had to have the right bait and the right place, just like you made the decision to move that rod. If you had sat right there on your butt and not moved that rod, you might not have ever seen that fish.
Nope. I can't even. Thinking of that makes me sick. So like when I'm fishing, I'm like always wanting to reposition my stuff now.
Nah, sometimes waiting them out pays the bill.
Yeah, that's true too. That's true. And the water temps here, I forget what Chad said. I think it's 60s, low 60s, 62. So like they're moving. They're moving, especially them bigger fish, because I know it probably takes more effort and energy for them to get feeding and staging up for spawn. That's all. I don't know for a fact. I've never done any science research on it, but just watching you guys and listening to Epic talk and everybody else's talk about the spawn and their habits, just kind of makes sense. And it was not just me that weekend. There was a bunch of big fish caught that weekend over those few days.
In the past couple of weeks, they've been, I think, 4 state records that's been broke.
I only know of the 2. It was West Virginia and Mississippi, right? What's the other 2?
North Carolina just broke theirs state record. It went from 121 to 127.
Oh, a blue?
Yep.
Man, I didn't hear about that.
Yep. There was not a whole lot of, the guy was from North Carolina. He was from a little town that I've never heard of, but they never did release what lake he was on.
That's weird.
Yeah. So I don't know if there was some weird circumstances around that. The reason we haven't heard any more, but I screenshotted I'm pretty sure I screenshotted the article because I sent it to a buddy of mine, Justin.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
And I was thinking another one was up there in Ohio. No, I don't know.
West Virginia state record. I know that.
Yeah, West Virginia got theirs broke. Where's it at? I've screenshotted so much here lately. Let's see.
I know, me too.
With all the articles going on. Sorry, guys. I'll find it and I'll send it to you. But I know there was 3 or 4 within a week or two that those has been broke. So the bite is on. The bite is definitely on.
Yeah, I mean, like not even 5 minutes after we released that fish and we got baited back out, Josh caught a 47 right behind that one.
See, that's just a good night of fishing.
Yeah, I mean, and this is not the first time that we've had an epic night at the dock. Tom at his PB the night after, he caught a 56 point something, 1-2, I think. I think it's 56. But it was last fall, I believe. It was rainy. It was myself, Josh, and Tom again at the dock, and we were using sucker. And I caught a 22, Josh caught a 32, and then Tom caught a 52 and a half. Maybe it was a 33 that Josh caught. But still,
he just said that Rocky Baker, it was caught in the Roanoke River.
That was this weekend?
Yeah, it was not long ago. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was the Mad Cats guy. He got that the signature rod made and all that. Yeah, I remember.
I think so.
Excuse me.
So I mean, it's that time of year. The big fish is on the bite, and you know, Art, the fishermen are becoming better fishermen at chasing those big fish. There's been a lot of big fish in the waters for a lot of years, but until you start throwing the baits and putting them in the right locations instead of just, you know, casting and wishing for a bite,
Yeah.
you're going to start seeing more of those big fish caught.
I know anytime we fish, I mean, we fish to catch fish, but we always throw out big baits. Or, well, this wasn't big baits we were throwing that night, but still, we always fish for the big ones because we got
that was big bait food though. That was suckers, which are bigger baits or bigger food for those fish.
I'll have to send you a picture afterwards of the size of these suckers that we're getting out of there, because they were the size of carps pretty much. They were big,
no doubt. You can probably catch them with corn like you can catch carp on corn.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't try that. I just you know, you always got to watch what people are doing around you too, because the local guys. This guy came down there with his kid. His kid was using a little push button spin cast, and he was using open face, and his kid was catching them just as much as he was, and he was using a little grub tail. I guess it's a grub. It's the shorter, fatter worms with the curly tail.
Yeah.
And he was using white. I didn't have anything white, so I was using like a kind of transparent chartreuse.
Right.
Be probably more like a fluorescent green with a pink jig head, and that's what I was catching.
I hear you.
Wouldn't bite.
That's probably, I use black and chartreuse is about my two favorite colors in small jigs.
Yeah, and it was super clear, the water, because it was so shallow, and the falls were running the whole time. So, but you could see them there. The Thursday night there was like cordwood. They're on top of each other, just come up out of the water like they're. Excuse me. And when I went again Sunday. Yeah, I took my daughter and my wife Sunday. We went down there, and they were kind of thinning out, but they're moving more toward the center too. I don't know if it's deeper out there or what, or if all the females have laid their eggs, but it was cool to see people. They come through there and they're like, "Oh, I'm trying to catch smallmouth," and this other guy was like, because this is like in the town. It's the town. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's Danville, Virginia. So they were big with textiles. So the river was a big deal back in the day for running a lot of those plants.
Oh God, yeah, they run big giant water wheels with shafts that run all the way through the mill with leather straps that pulled them.
Mm-hmm. So but since then they've dug a lot of the rivers out and made them shallow. And this guy was there, and he said, "I remember 2 years ago I could come down here and catch 30, 40-pound blues. And now I won't catch nothing but like 2-3 pounder, because those big ones, I don't even think they could swim in 8 inches of water. It's shallow in there."
Not a dang. Yeah, and I mean those suckers and carp and stuff like that in them water, they're actually fun to catch.
Yes, they would fight with that current.
Yes,
it was fun. I used my bass rod with some braid on it, and I had fun. I went down there by myself that last night. I wanted a hook.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I love carp fishing, especially freshwater carp. That's not a pay lake carp, but you know, straight out of the river. Never had a hook in his mouth. Them suckers ain't nothing but shoulders, man.
Yeah,
they make some good long hard runs.
And they're sleek too. They got that. They can dart right through the water.
Yeah, and see Wiley down here, we got some big giant. In fact, that's where the world record buffalo come from. Is out of Wiley. It was 88 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, and they had. I was fishing over at South Point where you fished off of that bank.
Yeah,
I was fishing right there, and these guys were set up over on the other side where that private place is.
Yeah,
they was set up there. They come and set up for the night. They had 2 trucks with tanks. They was taking them to a pay lake. It was a carp lake. It ain't a catfish lake. It's a carp lake.
Yeah,
and they had done put 2 or 3 40s and a couple of 30s. When that one took off, and there was 4 of them, and all 4 of them had to get off in the water to get that fish into a net.
I was gonna say, what were they fishing for them and then put them in the tanks, or
They
just
was
net?
fishing for carp
Oh, okay, so
to take to the carp pay lakes, and carp can handle them pay lakes. Catfish, not like cats.
right, yeah,
A cat can't handle it. Them carp can, but that buffalo. But the fight killed that fish. Died from just the fight alone.
yeah,
It must have been old.
yeah,
But it took all four of them to getting in that water with the nets to finally to get him wound up and get him into a net to get him out and get him up into the tank. But they said he died before they even got back to Shelby.
that's a shame. Even
But,
if it is a carp or a buffalo, it's still.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's up there at Midway Lake now. He had it mounted. It's sitting up there at Midway at the pay lakes, mounted when you go into the pay to carp fish. But what I'm saying is they had chummed them waters for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They used corn and chicken scratch feed and stuff like that and wheat and stuff like that. And they chummed all that water for about 2 weeks. We wasn't catching a fish over there where we was at. Nothing.
Yeah, because all the catfish were over there too.
They was all over there getting their bellies full of corn and stuff. So, but carp are fun. I mean, fishing's fishing, Art. And what you done is a fish of a freaking lifetime. Congratulations. My hat's off to you.
Thank you.
I'm surprised OLG Bass don't keep that hole baited up, but it sounds like that's a good transitional spot where y'all catching those fish because there's more than just a couple caught there.
Yeah, Aaron caught a 62 last year around May, around this time.
Yeah.
So it's that. Well, so where this spot is at, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong in chat because I don't want to say anything wrong. It's like 6 miles down from the dam of Kerr Lake.
Right.
Oh, and he's still in the river channel section. So I don't know how much further down the main lake is, but it seems like they're traveling up to go up there to spawn.
Yeah. Making their way to the spawning beds or the feeding beds.
Yeah.
Before spawn. They
Yeah.
might be, them suckers might be moving up the daggum river section, shad, perch. I don't know if you got white perch up there. I'm sure they do. I think they do.
Yes, they have white perch.
And so, I don't know if it's time for white perch to make their spawning run or not. They should be getting close.
Yeah, I know the suckers are spawning, especially if they're spawning up in that river. Because you catch them, you grab them, take the hook out. It's either eggs or something else squirting out of them, so they're spawning.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure they probably do about like a carp does. That's why they beat themselves together and stuff to knock the eggs out.
Yeah.
You can see them old yellow carp in the summertime when they're spawning, up in the grass beds and stuff like that. They just sound like they tearing the water up. And they beat themselves together, knocking them eggs out and fertilizing them eggs at the same time.
Oh, wow. That's wild. I never knew that.
Oh, God. Yeah. I mean, any grassy areas around summertime, if you see the grassy area and you think it's some catfish or something or bass or whatever, a lot of times it's carp.
Yeah. I've never caught a carp. I'm going to try that next.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, the bait don't smell bad either.
I figured maybe when the spawn's happening, when you catch none but dinks, we'll throw out some carp bait too.
There you go.
Because everywhere we fished, I know there's carp in the lake. Because you see the guys out on those with the lit up boat. What are they? Bow fishing boat.
Bow fishermen.
Yeah, there was one out last night when we were out there with Chad, and then we could hear it all the way down the lake.
Yeah, I disagree with that because to me, if you kill it, you eat it. That's the way I was taught growing up. If you kill it, you eat it.
Yeah, they do that with the gar too, and they go for the gar and the carp.
And they'll shoot catfish too.
Yeah, it's legal. It's legal to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's legal to do it, so I can't really say nothing. I can just say that I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I don't agree with it either.
Now, if that's the way you feed your family, then I have nothing to say. I'd prefer you didn't take the big cats, but at the same time, Art, we can learn something from them.
Yeah. Up in the shallows.
You've heard me say that a million times. Shallow, shallow, shallow.
Yeah, 3 foot.
and old Fred, he concreted everything I've said for years the other night when he was talking about them fish might be, if you're a bank fisherman, those fish probably swimming right underneath your feet.
Yep, and we try cast way out there in the middle.
Yeah. I learned that a lot of times the hard way, throw baits out and not pay no attention, and the baits got moved back towards the bank. Well, that's the rod ends up getting hit, but you end up getting all screwed up because you got all that excess line you wasn't paying attention to.
Yep.
And,
fishing. I had 2 rods. Tom fished a little bit down from me, 2 rods. And I thought I seen my rod get bumped, and then it cast some slack in it. So I just reeled it up tight, and Tom brought his line in to check bait, and here goes my rod slowly, steadily going down. I'm like, well, Tom, I think you got mine. That fish must have took it back to where Tom was or over to where Tom was, because his hook was right around in my sinker slide. I know he didn't cast that good. Tom's a great fisherman. He can cast really nice, but I know he didn't get that circle hook down in that loop.
And that son of a gun might have had the scent of all those baits, and he might have been getting ready to go through there and clean up.
Did you see how many poles we had out last night?
If he'd have picked up all them poles, you'd have had a mess.
Yeah, it was 20-something for sure.
Yeah, there's different things that happen, just like you've heard me talk about catching that daggum 16-pound channel on a little old crappie jig. I'd never be able to answer that question. Was the catfish going after the jig, or was the catfish going after a brim that was going after the jig?
Right. Yeah.
You'd never be able to answer that question, but
I don't know how many times catching bait in ponds, like trying to catch brim, and bass will come up after them.
Yes.
Had them steal my brim a couple times.
Oh God, yeah. And I've caught them bass, thought I was just grabbing brim on those little old poppers, little topwater fly poppers. And big old bass come by, and I guess he was wanting some bugs too, because that rascal grabbed it more than once.
I used to love fishing with them those little poppers that were being like the foam ones.
Yeah.
I never had a fly fishing rod, but I always had it on a rod and act like I was fly fishing with them.
You tell you the easiest way is go to Walmart, buy you a spool of fly line, and cut you about a foot length. Tie your rod line to one side of it, and tie your little leader off of the other side. It gives you enough weight to cast it, and it floats.
Oh, okay.
So you use a micro light. I mean, still those lights, you can't get them nowhere hardly because they don't weigh nothing. I learned to use a piece of fly line on mine, and then I could get some longer cast out of it.
There you go. There's the golden nugget of the night right there.
Yep. I mean, I'll use sticks. I've tied sticks on my daggum line like a float just to get it out further, and especially when you can see them feeding just right outside your casting distance, you got to get it there.
I love catching panfish, especially brim.
Yeah. That's why I try to explain to people is that, and if you've done a lot of pond fishing and during the heavy brim spawn, you can smell that water.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so them catfish do. Them old flatheads come up in them waters, and blues too, coming up in there because that's easy food. Them old flatheads, he liable to creep up in there like an old alligator, an inch at a minute, an inch an hour or something, till he's laying right there beside a bed. That's easy food for them big old mouths.
Yeah, I just love a flathead. I love going after them too. So
you got many flatheads in your area?
Yeah, we do in the rivers. Yeah, and off the creek, the creek arms of the lake, there's flatheads back in the creeks.
There you go.
I did hear that the flathead population took a hit. I don't know how many years ago, but supposedly it's back up. I mean, Tom caught a 36-pounder last year. I've caught a 26. I've seen big flathead caught out of the lake. So,
well, good. But still, that ain't no 92-pounder. God almighty.
Well, that's not out of Kerr. That was out of Gaston, but still.
Right.
The potential for that to occur is there too, but just there's something about that dock. Aaron says it's magical. It is.
Apparently so. It's producing some good. It's producing some good fish. That's for a fact.
Yeah, I'm not arguing.
No, and it actually produces pretty consistently, don't it?
Yeah. Once the bite's on, it's consistent for sure.
Right.
There's definitely a point in time, and it all depends on because the way that lake works, water certain times, so it doesn't fluctuate much like our lake does. Our lake, that's not even a lake; it's a reservoir, so our levels can go up and down drastically. There, I don't think it can change more than a foot because the houses are right there on the lake.
Right. Well, we done figured out down here, like heavy flooding. A lot of times, Wiley and Norman and all them will start letting water go, and then Watery gets hammered. Then people will flood out bad, and they just ain't. I don't know if maybe they ain't got their daggum junk together where they don't communicate good or whatever. But yeah, Watery will get hammered, man, and they'll flood out bad.
Yeah, I
and
know.
they all got dams they can release the water.
Yeah, Gaston, I believe they supply somewhere on the one of the beaches. I think it's Virginia Beach. Our water supply for over there too. So
Right. So they have to be able to hold so much and keep it probably pretty constant.
Yeah, it's definitely consistent. I don't think I've never noticed the lake being like super high or low.
Right. I was trying to see if there was any questions in here. Guys and gals, if y'all got any questions, asked away. I've been trying to talk with him and I hadn't been looking at too many of the comments.
I know I've been running my big mouth.
Well, I wanted you to be able to tell your story, man, because that, like I said, that's a fish in a lifetime. I hope one day I get one even close to that. Wiley's coming up pretty good. That's my home lake. That's the lake I know the best. I fished my whole life, and it's really coming along. It's young as far as trophy fish.
Yeah.
Because the state North and South Carolina never did stock blues or flatheads in Wiley.
Oh, really?
That was the fishermen and what nature moved from Mountain Island and Norman down, but mostly it was fishermen that stocked that lake.
Oh.
And the flatheads are turning on in that lake. Well, you see what Richard and Justin done today. So
yeah, and look what Chad and Dee did last year.
Yeah. First time ever been on that lake, and they done good. So that lake is really turning on. Will it ever produce 100-pounders? Maybe. But you can pretty much count on it. If you got a decent day, you're gonna have at least a 30 and probably maybe a 40 in the boat.
Well, you guys have a good white perch population, right?
Oh God, yeah, we got so many white perch in there. It's crazy, and crappie, and a good population of shad.
Yeah.
We got treadfin shad. I've sat out there and watched them come underneath, and it black out all the way up to about 5 foot underneath the boat, and go past for an hour or so. The screen will be black. There'll be so many of them.
So that's good for the white perch and crappie then.
Yeah. Yeah. The crappie was known not worldwide, but across the country. People used to fly in to fish crappie on Wiley, and they introduced the white bass. The white perch, and we had white bass too. We used to be able to catch big white bass. I'm talking about 2-pound white bass. Just average.
Bass. We got some of them up here too.
But once the white perch got in there, we didn't have really what you call a high-speed predator. We don't have striper. All we have was the white bass. Well, white bass will pretty much decimate and eat anything they come across.
Uh-huh.
And you'd be hard pressed to even find a white bass in Wiley now. And the crappie took a real hard hit there at first, but I guess they kind of evolved, and you might get on the crappie and be on the crappie for a good 30 minutes, and all of a sudden you'll start seeing the white bass start showing up in your catches. But they've really made a big comeback. Quill said the big rain can dump massive amount of water. 1 inch of rain, 24,000 gallons of water every acre of area. Dang right. Hoping to try a weekly show. But it's going downhill now. That ugly guy. Somebody Ace Catfish is talking junk.
Ace.
Yeah. Talking about said he loved my show, but it's going downhill now with some ugly guy up there, is what he said.
Love you too, Ace.
Yeah. There's Mark's in the house with us. Yeah, so I mean, but the white perch now, man, you go across them with your depth finder on wild, and it's just nasty looking. It looks like a big giant bowl of spaghetti. They're just heavy in there. So yeah, that's a good bait. I mean, that's not just a bait. That's good food for any giant predator fish.
Yeah, that's what I wondered too. So, like, what is it about Lake Gaston and Kerr Lake that the fish can get so big? Is it? I know the water is like, I mean, yeah, some spots it's like 40, 50 foot deep. The deepest part's down by the dam, and I don't, that's like 80, 90, but I think that's all dug out. Like, are they just really good at hiding, or is it something about the lake that makes them grow fast? Like, that's what I'm curious about. What is it,
It might probably a combination of a lot of things to really get to that point, because there's some lakes that maybe the DNA is just not there, or the water quality is just not there. I don't know, man. The food source, but when you got a lake like Kerr and Gaston, them are big lakes.
Yeah,
and so maybe that's got something to do with it.
I know Kerr is. There's a lot of crappie tournaments that happen on Kerr. I know the crappie population is good because it's nothing to see somebody walking into one of the local bait shops and they'll post 2 and 3 pound crappie and pictures of big crappie, shell crackers too. The shell crackers the population is good.
Well, yeah, and I mean it just like somebody said on here. You got this Creole. You got to have an abundance of large bait to feed large fish. To feed big fish. Yeah. If you got a good population of carp, good population of crappie, largemouth, spotted bass, stuff like that, bait fish. I mean, sport fish that most states don't allow you to fish with. Those are big baits.
I wonder if catfish eat gar. We got spotted gar in the lake. I wonder if they eat them. Would it tear them up with that big long,
I don't know.
All the teeth in it.
I don't know.
They probably eat them when they're.
Well, if they swallow them head first, I imagine that mouth will stay shut.
Yeah.
But dang, they like a daggum bulletproof vest on them son of a guns. So I don't know. I mean, I know people's caught them and cut them up and use them as bait. Now, whether they caught fish with them or not, I don't know. But I'm like you. I like using anything that grows big enough that would be big baits.
Yeah. Yeah. As big as these suckers get, we can't cross section them. We got to fillet them and then cut pieces out of them. Yeah.
Why can't you cross section them?
I mean, you can, but it's just going to be a humongous bait. we just try to.
Did that 92 not eat it?
He ate, elephants eat peanuts, but yeah, that 92 could eat that whole sucker if I could get it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was hungry and he come across it and he decided to eat it. So that sucker might have been eating on daggum suckers.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's suckers in there. Tom caught one up the river a little ways in one of the spots he was bait fishing. So I know there's suckers in there.
Yep. I told you my 2 largest fish come on largemouth bass, one on a head and one on a big body section. And I cross sectioned it, and it was at least a 2 pound largemouth. And
we can't do
it. Was dead. I scooped it up. I didn't kill a 2 pound largemouth, guys and gals. Don't freak out.
Who's dead already?
It was actually floating, and I netted him up, and he become bait.
Yeah, we can use anything for bait as long as we can keep it whole and they can identify the species and its legal size.
Yeah. And so you catch it on hook and line.
Yeah, the whole carcass has to be intact.
Right, and that's why they'd prefer you to do here. you know, I just started where I take pictures because if it's a 2-pound largemouth, it's hard to use the whole carcass. And a good game warden ought to be able to look at the head and say, yeah, that's a legal bait, you know.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Even though they want to fuss with you, they know, man. They can tell by the head of a crappie or the head of a daggum largemouth that that's a legal bait. Legal fish. But if it's a fish, the way I look at it, if it's legal to eat it, I ought to be able to use it for bait.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, if you catch some bass and you can keep it clean, why can't you use the head for bait afterwards?
That's what I used to do with all the brim and crappie and stuff. I didn't know no better, man. I'd take them, catch me a big mess of crappie and brim, go to the house, throw the heads in a Ziploc baggie. Or a lot of times I'd do it on the boat when the bite wasn't good. I'd go ahead and do it right then and keep the heads and throw a catfish rod out with the heads and put them in a baggie. Go ahead and get the fillet and guts and all. And heck, I'd be chumming the water right there where I was fishing anyway.
Yeah.
And then throw them on ice. They was good and ready to go time I got home.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't understand why you can't do that. But
yeah, hell, you know, we get some of those little. I'm trying to be nice, Art. I'm trying to be nice, but I'm glad you was able to come in tonight and share your experience with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
There'll be, you know, a lot of us that here in chat and out here might not ever see a 92-pound fish, not even the wrong words, without even catching one themselves.
Right.
Know,
and if I would
seeing one is, you know, hands down worth even seeing it and happy for the person that catches it. But actually being on your line, that's a very rare thing. And congratulations, my friend, you done it.
Thank you. Thank you. It's I can't, like I was telling Josh the one day, I'm like, I mean, aside from all the years and all the stuff prepping and catching bait and just strategies and thinking and research, I didn't do nothing special that night except for move my rod over here and had the right bait, the right spot, and the right time. My knots were good. I didn't have no nothing, you know what I mean?
Yep. Everything played out just right.
Everything worked.
And it does. You know, I took a buddy of mine out on Wiley. He hadn't fished Wiley in many a year since his daddy used to take them. And I took him out with me. And he didn't even really know what a flathead was, you know. And I had a little old largemouth because you can have 5 largemouth as long as you catch them hook and line. And you can have 2 under legal limit. Well, I had one about 8 inches long. And I hooked it right through the mouth so his bottom mouth could open up and it wouldn't kill him. And I had it out for a long time over here on the right-hand side of the boat, and it was never getting no hit. And I told Scott, I said, reel that thing in and put it out here. I said, never mind. He couldn't throw a bait caster. He was all spinning and stuff. So yeah. I reached and grabbed it, and I said, where do you want it? And he pointed out in the middle of the lake. So I put it out in the middle of the lake. Well, the river channel cuts in real close to the bank right there. So I must have put it right off into that river channel. Well, surprisingly, there must have been a flathead coming up into the flats because we're sitting up in the flats fishing. And that's the night I caught my big flathead, that 37. That's as big as my flathead is, 37. And it come off the bank, about 2 foot off the bank. That's the one I had a big brim head about that size on a double hook rig. And about, I guess, an hour before I caught that big one, that one out there in the deep water took off, and it was on that live whole largemouth bass.
Wow.
And that was his first flathead. I said, get it, boy. You up in front of the boat, get it.
Yeah.
So I do. I you know, y'all have heard me say it. I do believe that the larger bait species, to me, is your better baits. Now, Art, you can tell me now, in the wintertime, I do good with just treadfin shad, the small shad.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times you can't get them big shad, and I'll use whatever I can get my freaking hands on if I want to fish.
Chicken too.
Yeah, there you go. I'm gonna carry chicken with me. I hate to say it, but I will carry chicken in my boat. Peter Bellhorn can do it on my home waters. I guess I can too.
Yeah, chicken hand. But don't you guys have isn't there something with the spotted bass population is so bad there they're wanting you to keep them no matter what size?
Lake Norman up there is 2 lakes above Wiley.
Yeah.
They introduced them to help the bass fishermen out because the largemouth population that took a hit for some reason. I can't remember what happened. So they stocked the spotted bass. Well, them spotted bass, they didn't realize how quick they multiply. And now you'll play hard pressed on Lake Norman to catch an actual largemouth.
Oh man.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they want you to take out all you can. That's a good bait. That's a dang good bait. Signal booster for that dock down there.
Yeah, you know what we decided because just all the running around and uncertainty of even being able to fish that night, we didn't go live. I didn't have my GoPro. I left that. So when all this is going down, we went live after the fact. After we got on the dock, go live. We got to show people this. It was just.
Oh yeah.
I think we learned our lesson that we need to be going live more or record more while we're there.
Right. Well, I mean,
thing on my lap and had my thumb. He got mad at one point. He crunched down on my thumb. I had gloves on, and it felt like it was in a vice. That joker bit me hard.
Blue will daggum. They will. I'm gonna tell you, those 20s and 30s and 40s to me is one of the hardest biting cotton picking fish, man.
If he was down on the ground and did that to my hand and rolled, it'd be like a gator. He would have ripped my thumb off, I bet.
Oh yeah, yeah. I hear a lot of people crying and stuff, but I hear, oh, them fish don't hurt. Yeah, okay, you'll find out one of these days. I promise you. There's Laura the Explorer in here. I ain't seen that name in here in a while. Appreciate you coming in, lady. We've had a lot of good people coming in. Buck Williams. But anything you want to tell the crowd? We about 9 o'clock. We're about ready to wind down.
No, just if anybody got any questions for me or anything. I mean, I pretty much told the whole story. Probably told more than I should have told. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I don't have no. That was a
You
fish.
earned those bragging rights.
There's no spots. There's no secret spots. Like we'll help whoever. It's all public areas. If they beat us there, they beat us there. You know, we're not. It is what it is. It's fishing.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be fun. It's not. It's not like we're fishing in a tournament and we needed to get to the spot before them or whatever. But
right. You know, that's why I told y'all when y'all come down there last year. You know, I told you go right over on the corner, and y'all couldn't go over there, and that's where my big fish come from.
Yeah, oh yeah,
20 foot off the bank, and but you might go over there tomorrow and might not even be a fish nowhere near there.
Right.
But everything is there that needs to be there. So I don't mind sharing that because fish move.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You put that 92 pounder back in the water. When did you catch it? What night was that?
Friday night going into Saturday.
Friday night. That fish might be 30 miles up the river now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
If he's chasing bait and headed towards the spawning area, then, yeah, that fish might not be nowhere near that dock now.
No, I bet he probably isn't.
Well, you want to give any prompts to anybody or whatever, your channel? Tell everybody where they can find you and your channel.
Yeah, 1 Ton Fishing Club on YouTube. That's our channel. We've had it for about 2 years now. Yeah. We just like having fun with it. We haven't been posting much lately, but that's going to change hopefully soon. Life happens. You get busy.
Yeah.
All of us with work, it's gotten super busy. Family stuff, all that. But definitely want to give a shout out to Tom and Michelle for letting us come down there, because if they wouldn't let us come down there, we wouldn't be able to fish there, and I wouldn't have caught that fish. Michelle always takes care of us. Well, I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Not Tom and Michelle's dock. It's Michelle's dock. Michelle's fish. I'm just her stunt double saying that I caught the fish.
Oh, there you go.
No, And props to Josh and all the rest of the one-tonners for all that they've done, helped the group and helped us grow and to get where we're at now.
Yeah. And I personally want to thank y'all for coming down last year and helping out down there. It was an amazing gathering of people, and we done real good. And my heart's out to y'all guys, and I appreciate it. I really do, because y'all done it for the right reason. And,
Yeah.
And it was
We didn't even get a bite.
Yeah. Yeah, and we met a lot of good people, and
that was the best part.
hopefully you'll be able to come down next year. But congratulations on the fish of a lifetime, my friend. I think you need to save up your money and have you one of those replicas made to hang on your wall.
Well, I did save the rig and everything. I don't know. I didn't save the weight because I don't know which weight it was, but I have the sinker slide and the bead and the swivel leader line and hook. And if I ever do get, we did take measurements. It was 56 inches long, and I didn't measure the girth right, but it was 36. But I wasn't up by the dorsal fin close.
Right.
So I don't know how many more inches it would have grown to be that.
But, I mean, they can guesstimate, in making your replica I don't even know how much it costs to get one of those replicas made, but
I would love
you bump it up there close to 100. I think it's about worth it to get it made.
Yeah, I would love to do it. I might have to build an extra room or something to put it in. My wife would not have a gigantic catfish.
No, mine either.
She'd be like, "What are you?"
I know she ain't gonna let me hang it up here in her LuLaRoe cabin.
I might as well get a replica of myself and try to hang it in the house. That wouldn't happen either.
There you go. Well, Art, I thank you. Congratulations on that. That was a job well done, but you earned it, and it was well deserved for you. And
I appreciate
thank you for sharing it with us.
You're welcome.
And don't run off right quick.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. We thank you for coming in. We'll see y'all next Wednesday night. And for the ones of you coming down to fish with Chad and all of us, we'll see y'all Saturday morning. God bless. We'll see you later.